Hello and welcome to West Village's instructional video on how to. Today we will be looking at how to adjust a POC connected to our main infrastructure. There are a few different types of POCs. The ones I will be going over today are adjusting while exercising the reclaimed refill POCs. So first, we need to log into FlowGuard. Select the site. We are at site 9642 currently, and currently this site is running at 207 gallons per minute. Now, it's important to take note of what your gallons per minute is before exercising the valves, because we want to set them back to their correct gallons per minute once we're done and finished with our exercise. So I'm going to close valve on FlowGuard for our site, making sure we are on the correct site, and I've recorded 210 gallons per minute is what our threshold was before we closed our valve. Next, we're going to go over to the downstream butterfly valve, unlock it, our POC just shut off. If you don't remember the password, look on the password sheet. All right. Another thing that I found that makes it a little bit easier is if you look at where the dial is indicated on the butterfly valve. That will give you a good starting point once you're done exercising so that it's not all over the place. One thing we want to keep in mind also when setting these valves, the butterfly valve, both the upstream and the downstream, which we're at here now, we want to make sure that when our system is on and open, the downstream is set to a point that it will not allow over the amount that we want. So let me exercise it quick. This site here we want set at 200 gallons per minute. So when we're done and leaving here, we don't want anything past 200 gallons per minute to leave this downstream butterfly valve. So no matter if somebody comes and messes with the unlocked upstream butterfly valve, we will always be at 200 gallons per minute. So we're all exercised here, hopefully back in the right position. We're going to take a note of where our upstream butterfly valve is located at and exercise this quickly, efficiently. Oh my God, Will just drove past. That was a joke. All right. Now, we have both the upstream and the downstream butterfly valve exercised. I still have FlowGuard up and open, so I'm going to go back onto FlowGuard, and depending on what site we're at, most of our reclaimed refill POCs are to be set in auto for the majority of them. So I'm going to go and put it back into auto. Now, if this site was in auto and closed when we came here, we'd have to put it into open. And then once we're done with our exercise, with it closed, we'd have to manually open it back up again on FlowGuard. Otherwise, no water will run. Now, we're going to give it a few minutes to stabilize and see where we're at. Currently, we're at 235 gallons per minute. So we'll give this a couple minutes to stabilize inside, since we have our hydraulic forces and hydraulic dynamics, fluid dynamics going on inside of these pipes. with these fittings, with these valves. Most likely I'll have to adjust down, but 235 isn't too bad for a start. And we want to try to make sure that we are, so this site is 200 gallons per minute. We want to be at 200 gallons per minute. If it's 5 gallons over or 5 gallons under, not really a huge thing. They will fluctuate during the day, but we want to strive for as close to 200 gallons per minute as possible, or as close to whatever the site's gallons per minute is as possible. And since we're still at 235, I'm going to adjust our downstream down a hair while listening and viewing FlowGuard to see I'm at about 229 gallons now. I'm going to feather the downstream closed a little bit more. I felt a large decrease in sound on the last turn, and that brought me down to 140 gallons. So I'm going to slowly open right back up and try to get closer to 200. I'm at 170, so I'm going to feather it open slightly more. Now I'm currently at 270 gallons, or 207 gallons per minute. So I'm going to let this stabilize here for a little bit. Most of the time, these gallons per minute, after about 5 minutes, fade down and decrease in the gallons per minute. And now we're at 197 gallons per minute, which is within our 5 gallons per minute of our 200 gallons per minute. One thing that you can do as a test also, so I currently have my downstream butterfly valve set fairly close to where it was before. I'm reading 200 gallons per minute on FlowGuard. I'm going to go up to my upstream valve and open this. If by opening this we get a large increase in our flow, in our gallons per minute, we know our downstream valve is open too much. So now I have the upstream valve fully wide open, and I am still at 202 gallons per minute on FlowGuard. So I'm fairly comfortable. We're very close with our downstream valve. So now I'm going to just feather this back without affecting my gallons per minute. And by closing this upstream butterfly valve and not leaving it wide open, there will be less fluctuation from what I have gathered for our POCs, and there'll be less what I call bouncing of the gallons per minute. And I just hit 190, so I'm going to open a little bit. And I can feel the threshold of the water inside reacting with the internals of the butterfly valve. It's a little noisy out here. Usually you can hear the water dynamics inside as you're adjusting these valves. So now, with my adjustment back up on the upstream butterfly valve, I'm at 196 gallons per minute. Just gonna crack this a hair more. I already know that my downstream butterfly valve is set to 200 gallons per minute. Once that's chained and locked, hopefully nobody messes with it, and no matter what happens here, if somebody comes and plays with the wheel, it's not gonna affect our work day. We're at 197 gallons per minute, and I believe we're probably about 3 or 4 minutes into the exercise with our sight open and flowing water. So I'm gonna chain this up now. If you want to zoom in here on locking these up, please, sir. So first, we want to make sure that our chain is secure around a base. If possible, double wrap the chain, and then we want to make sure that our lock is going to, at the least, at a minimum, secure around one of these wheel bars, the wheel handle bar. And then I'm just gonna dummy lock this. Checking flow guard again. We're at 202 gallons per minute. Make sure my padlock is changed. And I guess we can monitor for 1 more minute just to make sure we don't have any crazy fluctuations. Currently we're at 201 gallons per minute. And if there's any fluctuations, I'd go ahead and make an adjustment depending on the fluctuation. If the fluctuation was over 200 gallons per minute, we want to start with the downstream butterfly valve. That's probably the most important factor in this, is setting the downstream butterfly valve so that when our upstream valve is wide open, we're not allowing any more gallons through than what is set as our gallons per minute allocation. If our gallons per minute was under, say I was at 150 gallons per minute, I would start at the downstream butterfly valve as well, and basically just reverse it. Need to fine tune the downstream butterfly valve to our set gallons per minute, and then verify with our upstream butterfly valve to make sure that we are not going to bounce around, and slowly close the upstream once that process is done, just to get you right at the threshold. And will be less fluctuations when we're busy doing other tasks. So now I'm gonna put this in the auto because I must have fumbled with the buttons when I was doing this demonstration. I had closed it and put it into bypass. So sight is auto open because it's scheduled to run currently, and we're all set here. On to the next one.